This week we are continuing working on our color wheel I. So in our virtual art room, when you open it up, you will be able to find and come to our page here where you can click on Artsonia once you're done to turn in your artwork, as well as you can click on here's an example page that you can look at, as well as our color wheel I handout. And then finally, we're going to be able to click on here to watch the tutorial. So today you're going to need to have your color wheel I beginning that you started with last week. And the materials that you need are markers and a plastic bag, a paintbrush, and if you have a Q-tip and you don't have a paintbrush at home, that's something else that you can use. So let's get started on creating our color wheel I today. Painting with markers on a plastic bag is going to be slightly different than painting using our tempera cakes that we usually have in the classroom. So to keep in mind as you're using this, when you put marker on the plastic bag, think about if you use less water, then the marker color is going to be darker as a paint piece on your painting. If you add a lot of water to it or you keep grabbing it off of your plastic bag, then the color is going to be a lighter pigment. So as you're doing this, just try to think about, you can add more marker back on it to make it darker, but it's always easier to get something darker than it is to make something that's really dark lighter again. So that way you're not using too much water on your paper and you don't cause any ripping as you do that. So I'm going to show you our tips and tricks as we go through, and let's paint using marker today. For our sketchbook prompt today, what I want you to have out is the plastic bag, and let's start off with our primary colors. So our red, our yellow, and our blue. And the first thing that I wanted to show you in this video here is that you're going to be putting your marker on the plastic bag. So you can see right now I'm just adding a little bit of marker, and then I'm going to grab some water and I'm going to mix it on my plastic bag. And so you can see I'm gently going up and down with this marker here and paint, as you should see. And as the water starts disappearing, you can start seeing the pigment starts to become lighter and lighter. So I want you to practice in your sketchbook mixing different colors together with these three primary colors. You can see how it is if you just put a little bit of marker on there and take a tiny bit of water. See how it looks when you use a lot of water. So a lot of water is going to water it down so it becomes very light. And the less water you use, the darker it's going to be. There's another idea to also mix on your plastic bag too. So you can do your color a little bit with another color on there and mix it that way. You'll notice what I had just done a second ago there was just do a tiny bit of red, and didn't grab any water, and I placed it on top of my lighter color tone here, so then you could see that you can still layer things. Wait for the paint to dry, and then you could add the paint on top of it. So here I grabbed some blue, and I placed the blue on top of the red, and it's starting to make purple. I wouldn't recommend mixing the red marker on top of your blue marker because the blue marker is darker than your red. So I would place the colors right next to each other on the plastic bag, and then you can blend and mix them that way. And that's where you can get a reddish purple and other things. So I want you to just explore in your sketchbook right now of getting an idea of how this process works for you. Try using just that one color, try mixing some of the colors, and see if you can add that. So on here, I'm just going to keep playing using the three primary colors only and using water. You're working in small sections. If it gets too wet or watery for you, you can go grab a paper towel and just wipe it all off. So in this video, you notice that I have my paint palette, but we're going to be using our markers with the plastic bag that we were just practicing in our sketchbook. So the first thing I want us to do is add in the three primary colors. I'm going to be starting off with red, and you can make it as dark or as light as you would like it inside of your color wheel. So out of the 8 spots, I want you to start with 1. And I always outline first and then I fill it in. You can see that I'm going nice and slow and just outlining and filling it in. The next color that I will grab after this, so you can always go back in and see how I didn't grab any water. I am adding on a second layer of red. The more water you use on this paper, the more likely it's going to rip. So just make sure you don't use a lot. Now the second color I'm going to use is blue, and I'm not going to have it next to it, so you want to skip a spot. So there I skipped one, and I actually, forgive me, I'm using yellow. I'm recording over this video because I was sick in this one still from the previous one, and I couldn't stand hearing my voice that way. So here I'm using yellow, and then you'll see we'll go into the blue. Again, the pattern will be is that you skip and you'll add
Be making tertiary colors, so make sure you rinse your brush really well. And we only did 8 instead of 12 because I'm going to just show you how to make a few tertiary colors, or intermediate colors as they're called, is when you take a primary and a secondary color and you mix them. So we're going to skip 2 and then put blue here. So I'm going to skip these 2 and put it in the third one. I'm going to put my blue. I really watered down this blue. So it's your choice. You could have it darker, lighter, more watercolory. You could have it transition, where it's a little more opaque, and then translucent. It's completely up to you. Okay, then make sure that you rinse your brush really well again. Okay, so now that we've got our primary colors, let's work on to our secondary and our tertiary colors. Let's start off with making our orange first. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab some of your yellow, you're going to place it on your paper, and then you're going to grab a little bit of red, and we're going to mix and blend it on here. So I'm going to grab a little bit of water so it spreads it. And it's a really light orange right now. So I might grab a little bit more yellow, place that on my paper, grab a little bit more red, and I could mix it a little bit more. And now it's turning into my nice orange color. So if you want it to be a darker orange, you could grab a little bit more red. So maybe for here, I'm going to make it a reddish orange on this side. And then I might grab a little bit of yellow. And I'm going to put more yellow on this side so it's a yellowy orange on this side. You can see a little slight difference. You don't have to do that, but that's how you make your orange. Then you rinse your brush really well. And what we're going to do is we're going to make 2 different types of greens next. We're going to put our regular green right here. So in your paint palette, grab some of your green. And you're going to paint your green here. Perfect. And I'm going to rinse my brush. And now I'm going to make a yellowy green. So I'm going to grab a lot of my yellow. I'm going to place my yellow on here. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of green. And I'm going to put the green on top. So now I'm making a tertiary color that's called a yellow green. Now on a color wheel, when we have all 12 of them, you would have a reddish orange, a yellow orange, and an orange in the middle. You would have a yellow green, and then you would have your green, and then you'd have a blue green. And so that's how you can make all these colors. Right now I just wanted us to play with a couple of them. So up top we're going to make a two different types of violets. We're going to make a reddish violet and a bluish violet. Now our paint palette comes with more of a reddish violet or purple. So we're going to paint that one closest to the red. So you grab that. You're going to paint that here. And again, if you want to add in some highlights or some texture, you can for a few of these. Whatever stands out for you. Now my next one, and you'll notice the habit that I'm constantly doing, is you always start with the lightest color and then you put the darker color on top of it. So you have more of the light and then you have a tiny bit of the darker color. It's just easier to darken something than it is to lighten something. So I'm going to start by putting my purple here, and then I'm going to grab some of the blue, and then I'll put the blue on top. And now you can see I've made a different shade of the violet. It's more of a bluish violet. And each of ours are going to be a little bit different. So maybe you want it to be a little darker blue, indigo violet. You can. You put a little bit more blue on top, and you could keep changing it up. So now we have those sets created. Once you're done with your color wheel eye, what you're going to do is you're going to grab a little bit of your black and let's add in some of our value. So if my brush is nice and watered down, I'm going to make a gray color, but if it's too dark, just remember more water makes it lighter and less water makes it darker. So more water, I could just pull it like we did on our optical illusions, and I could just create the type of shading that I want to add to my eye, just to give it a little bit more value.